Alright, it looks like we're good. Greetings everyone, I am Dr. J, and welcome to a sort of impromptu stream. I'll admit that I wasn't expecting to do too much before the end of the year, but then circumstances tend to circumstances changed my mind, so I didn't necessarily have time to do a video before going on vacation, but what I did have time for was a channel update. And honestly, we've got plenty to talk about this time, so this is going to be a bit of a variety stream. We'll have a bit of time talking about what to expect from the channel, and afterward, at around 4 p.m., we're going to talk Sephiroth in Smash, because apparently that's a thing now. Holy crap, that was such a good trailer for it. Good lord. And so, anyway, to get on with the subject, oh jeez, game, don't do this to me. I know I just started you back up, but come on, don't be like that. Alright, volumes are in good shape. Alright, volume looks to be in good shape. Let me turn myself up a little bit. There we go. So, anyway, and since that I don't want to just have an empty screen for the entire thing, I figured I'd go back to Torchlight 2 briefly. So, the reason for this is because I've actually been trying out the third game recently, which, I don't know, I've been of two minds about, honestly. Because, you think Torchlight 3, because if you don't know, Torchlight 2 is my most played game on Steam, with Torchlight 1 close behind it. Although, to be fair, some of that time was because of time I spent, well, time I spent back when my father and I shared the account. So, to some extent, it's to be expected that it's the most played, or one of the most played. But the fact that I've spent so much time with this game means you would think Torchlight 3 would just be the game for me, that I would go in absolutely loving it, and that I would want nothing more than to just sing its praises from here to the ends of the earth. But honestly, though, I haven't exactly been impressed with Torchlight 3 so far. It's just been a resounding mess so far. And I'm not even sure why, honestly. Because you'd think, hey, whenever I talk about being accepting of grinds within video games, it's the thing that I often turn to say, hey, I don't mind it because I'll spend hundreds if not thousands of hours engaged in loot. Well, going after every little bit of loot that I can find. So, need to remind myself of the controls a little bit because Torchlight 3 shook them up. And yet, the problem is going into Torchlight 3, it's been a resounding mess so far. And I think part of it is that they've differentiated it a lot from an audio and visual standpoint, because it's definitely more Torchlight 3 is definitely more detailed, but the problem is that it doesn't seem as distinct. I mean, with what we've got right now, it's very distinct, I guess is the best way to put it. It's very easy to tell exactly what's going on. Very easy to tell, in fact. So, when something happens, you know, alright, there we are. But the problem is that, for whatever reason, it just hasn't been the same way with Torchlight 3, so... And part of it does come down to the sound design, because, for whatever reason, because I play a lot of the mage classes, which is why I figured, hey, Ember Mage, I've done this class a lot. I can sleepwalk through this and still talk. Because with the Ember Mage, everything sounds very arcane. It definitely sounds like magic, but the problem is the Dusk Mage sounds very different from what I'm used to, so it's honestly kind of strange. So, and honestly, I think if I were talking about the differences between Torchlight 2 and 3, I think one of the major differences is just how monsters sound. I mean, the goblins in 1 and 2 sound so distinct from pretty much every other goblin I've heard in fantasy, honestly. But yet, you go to Torchlight 3, it doesn't sound anything like them, so I'm of two minds about it. But either way, my own mulling on that is unconsequential in the long term, because that's not the only reason why we're here. So, what to expect from the channel moving forward? So,
my mana is low.
The main thing is that going into next year, I want to try and have more than one, well, I want to try and have more than just a video every other month, because I could manage that given everything that was going on this year, which, to be fair, wasn't a lot, but it's honestly kind of hard to get used to just what the year required of you, honestly. I think that's just the main thing in total when I really think on it, because it's just a lot that's been going on this year. And it took me a while to finally learn to... I don't know if filter it out is necessarily the right word, but to some extent that really is what I've had to do in order to stay sane. It's just say, okay, what can I actually control? What of all of this situation can I constructively assist with? And if I can, great. If not, well, you move on. I think that's what it's really boiled down to for me. So, because of that, I wasn't able to do as much as I probably could have done this year, only getting out a video every other month, but honestly, I'm thinking now that I know generally what I'm going to be up to next year, I think I probably can manage getting a video out a month, and that's what I had that in mind in 2019, but then the Fire Emblem Three Houses release happened, and it ended up just basically consuming my life for 2 months, and then I spent the next 6 months working on that 2.5-hour review of it, so to some extent it's my own fault for getting so caught up in it, but at the same time, if I've got the passion to talk a hell of a lot about it, why not talk a hell of a lot about it? It's not like I'm the first one to spend an inordinate amount of time with something. So, there we are. Let's see, what do I want to work on next? Yeah. Yeah, let's go with this. So, to that end... Oh man, that's a lot. Okay, so... To that end... Where was I? Oh yeah, talking about the plans for next year. So, the main thing there is that now that I know generally what is going to be going on over the next year, I should be able to get out a video a month. Especially since my long-term project right now has been split up into multiple videos. So, as long as I'm able to make some progress on it over the course of this year, I'm pretty okay with what else I end up working on. So, I feel that'll be a good balance between what I had last year, well, had in 2019, where I basically spent all year on one thing, versus what could have been where I actually got a video out every month. In theory, it'll work out well, but see how it turns out. Alright, let's see. That should suffice. Let's give me a little more damage as well. So, apart from that, is there anything else worth mentioning? So, I guess let's talk about the videos I have in mind then. So, I mentioned Torchlight 3 already, but honestly, it's probably going to be a while before I actually see to that, because besides the fact that it hasn't really impressed me as much as I've expected, and just been a resounding mess so far, part of the problem is because it appeared in between Hades and Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. The former has some of probably the best combat I've seen from an action RPG in a while, if not ever. Because it's just so fast-paced, so much fun. It is amazing how well they managed to execute on the combat for that game, and throw in roguelike elements on top of that, and it's basically the perfect game for me. So, to that end, I guess So going straight from that into Torchlight 3, when I was still riding the high from Hades, this fast-paced adventure where you're just moving at a mile a minute, and then going straight to Torchlight 3, which is a much slower experience, yeah, it made a bit of a difference. Shut up, old man. I don't care about story stuff right now. I'm just grinding. Let's see. Alright, let's not waste any time and get it back out there. So, so first you had it showing up right as I was mostly finished with Hades, though still playing it infrequently, so when I go to play it, I think, it's okay. I mean, it's not Hades. I go to play Torchlight 3 and I think, it's okay. It's not Hades. So, I guess it'll do, but still. It definitely had that going against it, which meant it took a while for it to actually catch my attention. And then, right as I'm finishing up the Hades review, right as I'm basically going to close the book on it, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity drops. Within, I want to say, a week of me finishing the Hades review. And as a result of that, well, I basically played nothing but for the next 2 weeks, even while working on the Hades review. So, needless to say, I 100%ed that game within the first 2 weeks. Well, technically 15 days, but who's counting? Well, obviously I am, but you get my point. It was really fun. I'm honestly surprised at how good Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity ended up being. I didn't expect it to be as skill-based as it was, given the, I guess, infamy that Warriors games have of being very grindy and very repetitive, but honestly, given how much they ripped from Breath of the Wild, well, I guess, well, technically not ripped, since that it's technically allowed, but you get my point. With how much was lifted from Breath of the Wild, it ended up being surprisingly skill-based, so on the whole, I'm really happy with how it turned out. And that's going to be one of the games I review sooner rather than later. For where Torchlight 3 is concerned, my thinking is that instead of reviewing it right off the bat, well, sooner rather than later, my thinking is I'm going to wait until it's been out for a year, and I'm going to see then what it looks like. Because in theory, by then, hopefully some of the issues that I have with it will be addressed to some extent, because honestly, it probably should have stayed into early access for a little longer, if we're being honest with ourselves. But because of that, I'm hoping that giving it a little bit more time will mean it's a little better later down the line. And it'll also give me a chance to try out all 4 classes, because for all I know, I just picked the bad class, well, the class that's not as fun, I should say, because I do really like the mage archetype, but the Dusk Mage is not necessarily impressed as much as I would have liked. So that could easily be one of the reasons, but for now, instead, I've got the first, well, I'd say I've got January, February, and March planned out, so here's what I've got planned for those. So give me 1 second. Okay, so for January, it's going to be Icewind Dale 2, because if you aren't aware yet, I recently got access to the community tab within, after getting 1,000 subscribers. Thanks for that, by the way. I really appreciate it. Glad that enough of you decided to stick around. So for January, a few months ago, I decided to release a poll saying, hey, in all the time that I've spent looking at modern games, I've been ignoring Through the Looking Glass for far too long. So my thinking was, I've got these 4 games that I've started and partially finished at various points, but kept getting neglected because Fire Emblem Three Houses took forever, and then all these other modern releases came in and stole the spotlight briefly. So my thinking is, here's 4 games, tell me what you want. And then after that, based on that, the order that people voted on was Icewind Dale 2, Valkyria Chronicles, The Witcher 3, and Final Fantasy VII in that order. That's how it ended up shaking out. And since I called the results, Valkyria Chronicles has ended up tying with Icewind Dale 2, but since that I'm further along with Icewind Dale 2 at this point, and that's where I called it, that's what's going to be coming out in January. At the moment, I'm mostly finished with the script and should have it done by, I'd say, probably tonight, actually. Because at that point, I should have pretty much everything I need figured out for it, make sure that I've added every little thing I want to add. And at that point, it's just a matter of recording it over Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then while I'm on vacation, I might not be able to do a lot of video editing, but I will be able to edit all of the audio I record and get that ready to go so I can come back swinging. The hope is to get that out within the first 2 or 3 weeks of January, and hopefully it'll end up being pretty good, I hope. For whatever reason, my CRPG reviews are among my most watched on the channel, so I'm hopeful that it'll be received well. It's going to be about the same length as the first Icewind Dale review, and I will say right now, it's definitely going to be more positive this time around, because the first Icewind Dale I wasn't necessarily impressed by, in part because I had played it immediately after Planescape Torment and Baldur's Gate 2, which are some of, honestly, really good RPGs and really good games overall, so yeah, it didn't stand a chance, irrespective of how good its story was. And honestly, there were legitimate problems with some of the encounters being a little more repetitive than you might like, and hey, no you don't. There you go. Some of the encounters being more repetitive than you might like, alongside the story's writing not necessarily giving it enough room to be felt. So, to some extent, there were legitimate problems in the game, but even so, I am glad that people have been respectful of my opinion, even if they don't necessarily agree with it. I very much appreciate that. This time, though, it seems like they fixed up a lot of the issues that I have with it, to where, honestly, Icewind Dale 2 is what I wanted from the first game, as far as I can tell. There are a couple issues that have been introduced with the interface, because it can be hard to tell apart the journal and the spell book and... what was the third one? It's the journal, the spell book, and... I want to say, oh, the character sheet, that's the third one. Those 3 icons look very similar to each other because they're all different versions of a piece of paper, it seems like, so it's a little hard to tell those 3 apart for whatever reason, and they don't even do anything else to differentiate them. But apart from small UI issues like that and the fact that there's just so much to keep track of, I've honestly been impressed. They did a lot to vary up the encounters beyond just having generic ones every now and then. So honestly, I'm really happy with the game. it's probably not, it's not something I can wholeheartedly recommend if you only go to CRPGs for their story and couldn't care less about the combat, but if you like this CRPG combat, you might start thinking less of real-time with pause after all the crap they throw at you in those games, but honestly, it's gonna be a good review, I think. I'm looking forward to getting that out. So, that's what I'm planning for January, and as for February, that is gonna be Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Because I mentioned earlier that I spent a lot of time with that over the course of the last, well, over the course of 2 weeks, to where I basically 100%ed it within 15 days, so yeah, that's gonna happen. And if it does, honestly, if I hadn't committed to reviewing Icewind Dale 2 first, that would probably be priority number 1 as soon as I get back from vacation. So, don't worry, I will be vacationing safely. I have made plans to ensure it'll be fine. But anyway, there we go. So, apart from that, let me think. So, I'm anticipating that will be a longer video just based on the script right now. It's, I want to say around 9,000 words, and I have to include a little bit more with respect to the story and co-op, mostly because I have no experience with the co-op yet and will have a chance while I'm visiting family, because I know my brother will be interested in trying it out, so I might not be able to retrieve any footage from it unless I drag my main computer along, which, still debating on that, since I could end up getting waylaid. And if I do, I might be able to get the Icewind Dale 2 review out faster. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. But at the same time, I'm there to visit family, so is that... If I'm bringing my main computer along, which is the main thing I spend most of my time with, am I really going for the right reason, and is it really worth going if I'm just gonna huddle in front of my computer and work on video editing anyway? So I'll probably leave it behind. But anyway, because it's gonna be longer than the Icewind Dale 2 review, I'm anticipating that it'll end up coming out later in the month for February. And if I'm lucky, I'll be able to time it out on February 21st, which is... I can't remember which anniversary for The Legend of Zelda, but it's the day that the first Legend of Zelda video game ever came out. So I'm thinking if I can time it out with that, that'd be really cool. And if we're lucky, there'll be some kind of Nintendo Direct then as well, so I could potentially piggyback off of whatever discussion's been parlayed off of that, especially if they announce any DLC. And honestly, given how successful the game has been, it wouldn't surprise me if they introduced some DLC. I mean, I think it was Gerard the Completionist who ended up having to spend over something like 1,000 hours just to complete everything in the first Hyrule Warriors. I mean, if they don't include some kind of DLC, I'd wonder who the hell designed the game. Or at least is making the financial decisions, because it seems to have been doing really well for itself. So, looking forward to talking about that. And, let's see, for March, that is when I'm going to be continuing with the Halo review series. I wanted to try and get the next video out at some point in November, but then Hades kept dragging me off and a couple other things kept distracting me as well, so it ended up falling through. But I do have all of the audio I should need recorded for it, apart from any adjustments that need to be made later down the line if I find out that I flubbed a line or want to revise something. So, relative in the month, it should come out relatively quickly, but there will be a decent amount of retreaded ground on that one because it is the gameplay discussion of Combat Evolved. So, my plan for, if you haven't watched my Halo Master Chief Collection review, the idea behind that is instead of having one long video like what I did for Fire Emblem Three Houses, I'm instead breaking it up into multiple videos. The first one was just a general gameplay discussion, and at this point, what I'm hoping over the course of this year is to finish going over all of the gameplay stuff in the order that the games were released over the course of this year. Because starting from March, if I alternate months with the Halo videos, I should be able to get all of them out before the end of the year. And at that point, I can focus next year on talking about the story. And after that, and at the end of that, at the end of 2022, as far away as that may sound right now, I can put out a bloody massive video combining everything. That's the plan anyway, so March is going to be the continuation of that, which means May will be Halo 2, and I'll let you count up the rest, because I'm a little halfway distracted right now. I'm trying not to die. There we go. I'm going to be glad when I get my teleporting skill. But for now, sadly that's not going to happen this stream, because we're going to be distracted in about 10 minutes talking about Sephiroth. But either way, so As for what the rest of the year is going to look like, I do want to keep up with the one a month, but I honestly don't know what I want to work on for April and June. Because the problem is that I had initially planned on doing Valkyria Chronicles in April and The Witcher 2 in June, because that was the order in which people voted on in the poll. But the problem is that there is a degree to which my own interest in a series could change things, because if part of the reason for this stream is the fact that recently it was announced that Sephiroth is going to be joining Super Smash Bros Ultimate, and because of that, it motivated me to pick up Final Fantasy VII on Switch and start a second playthrough of it. To give some context, I had finished Final Fantasy VII back in May on the PC version, despite the fact, well, struggling with the PC version all the while because holy crap, the PC version's atrocious. It's functional, but instead of actually responding to whatever controller you have set up, it decides, you know, we're just gonna tell you what the button means instead of what the button is. So, if you don't, and the worst part is it doesn't like you alt-tabbing, and even if you do alt-tab, it decides, you know, if you actually have the game running, we're just not gonna let you see what you actually bound the buttons to. So, if time is of the essence, we're just gonna be annoying about it. So, in order to circumvent, because of that, I figured, well, two things. First of all, as it was May when I finished the game, and because I had started playing it while I was still working on the Three Houses review back in 2019, my thinking is a decent number of the details in between Midgar and I want to say the second half are a bit fuzzy to me. So my thinking is, let's buy the Switch version so I don't have to struggle with the controls as much. And as a result, I can also use it as a chance to go back through, note story beats as I go, and by virtue of that, do a better job when it comes to critiquing the story. And because Sephiroth recently got announced for Smash, in what is honestly probably the best reveal trailer I've ever seen from Super Smash Bros. Yet, my thinking is, oh dear, that's gonna be tough. Yeah, stay up there, focus on my pet so I can just do that. Thank you.
My pack is full.
Oh dear, I'm gonna be here a while. Alright, so get rid of all these. So anyway, to get back on topic, the idea there is that I was thinking, this was sufficient motivation to remind myself that Smash Bros exists and it's honest, well, that Final Fantasy exists, sorry. This is why I shouldn't manage inventory while also messing with this. So, that's enough shunting off to the side. I'm gonna be very busy in a couple seconds anyway. So, my thinking is I would just go back through and figure out what I'm doing there. Okay, I'm rambling at this point. So, start over. So, you get past this, and then I'll get my train of thought started back up. So, okay, think. This is why I shouldn't be playing a video game while trying to do an update. So, with Final Fantasy VII, I had played it through sporadically before eventually committing and going really, and playing it, honestly, in a very short period of time through the second half. And so my thinking is replay it on the Switch so I can get a proper judge of it, a proper assessment of it. So, and because of that interest, I'm honestly not sure how things are going to shake out with respect to what's coming in, April and June. Because I was thinking Valkyria Chronicles in April and The Witcher 2 in June, but given the circumstances, that could flex. So, all that I know for certain beyond March is that I do want to try and finish the gameplay portion of Halo 3, well, of the Halo the Master Chief Collection. March, third month, good lord, you need to calm down. So, that is the plan for that. So, hopefully it'll end up working out for the best, and whatever I end up doing for those months. So, what I do know for certain is I do want to tackle all 3 games over the course of this year because I've been pushing them off for far too long, so regardless of the order they come out in, I am committed to actually finishing all 3 of them. Because the Icewind Dale 2 is pretty much a guarantee at this point. It's just a matter of whether... it's just a matter of what order the remainder come out in at this point. So, that's the hope there, and apart from that, I think that covers everything important for this channel. I was thinking of also maybe discussing a little bit of the second channel, but we've got about 5 or 6 minutes left before the Sephiroth gameplay discussion. I haven't been able to find the US version of the stream, but it looks like there's a UK version, so I should be able to get it in plain English, even if Actually, I'm not sure what it's gonna sound like. You know what? It doesn't really matter too much as long as I get across, as long as the point is made about how exactly Sephiroth is gonna play. It doesn't matter much to me. So, as a result, I guess we'll just go ahead and play through this dungeon, and then I'll bring up... Let's see, and then I'll bring up the stream, and then we shall begin speculation, because, honestly, I've seen such radically different opinions, even within my own friend group, as to the announcement, because one of my friends just saw it and said, oh, another anime sword fighter. Whoop-de-freaking-do. And honestly, I don't blame him for thinking that, because my friend group in which he's a part of doesn't play a lot of Fire Emblem or really know much about Japanese RPGs or anything of the sort. So, because of that, he sees Sephiroth, and sure, he might be able to appreciate how awesome the trailer looks, but at the same time, it's not his cup of tea. So, his thought was, meh, he'll probably end up being another Byleth, so we'll see what happens. I expect him to be more similar to... Well, I expect him to be more similar to Cloud, personally. Although, given the range on his sword, we'll see. Oh dear, this is gonna be fun. Get away from me. There we go, now just need to kill these guys before there's trouble.
My mana is low.
Yeah, I know. Alright, now I just have to deal with this guy. So, as a result... So, one of my friends was very much saying, oh man, this is just another anime sword fighter. And another one of my friends, despite also having basically no knowledge of Final Fantasy VII, said, okay, that's my new main. This guy looks cool. This guy has an awesome intro. He is my main. And he was using that as his excuse for why he got his ass whooped by me on Monday night. Oh man, if he ever finds this, he's gonna be pissed that I described him like that. Yes, I'm talking about you! You suck! Oh man. Either way, so... Yeah, I'll go ahead and end Torchlight 2 here then, so... I'm pretty much at the end of that discussion, so... Just need to make sure that the stream is all good to go. Oh, the live stream's actually starting. Okay, let me full screen this, and then... Get rid of Torchlight 2, since it has served its purpose. Alright, so... Sephiroth. He is coming. He is almost here. Gameplay discussion begins shortly. So, I don't know why they decided to design it like this. Honestly, oh, that is disgusting. Oh man, maybe I should keep it like that. The chat is even more insane. It's actually tempting to put something else up instead, but I don't have a good placeholder image. That's the problem. So, I am the most professional content creator on this platform, I will have you know. Yeah, well, but it should start up relatively soon. I don't see anything too spicy in the chat, and honestly, there's so much going on in the chat that it probably doesn't matter all that much. So, one of my friends was very much, it's not really great. It's just another anime sword fighter. Another friend basically says, I'm maining this guy. So, I'm honestly curious to see how his toolkit looks. That's what I'm waiting for before I cast judgment, because the trailer was cool. The memes surrounding it have been hilarious. But I honestly don't know how he's going to play, because one of my friends said he might play similarly to Byleth, given how the oversized sword would lead him to be honestly kind of insane with respect to range, especially given what seemed to be that flurry attack with the series of strikes as he moved forward. So I'm honestly curious to see how he'll play. I'm not entirely sure how it's going to work out. I believe some people have been saying that they pull some abilities from, I think, Dissidia, but I don't have any knowledge about that specifically, so I'm going in blind pretty much. I have no idea what to expect, and please let me know if the audio levels end up being good or bad, because I set them properly so that I could have Torchlight 2 going during the channel update part of this, but for all I know, everything's about to go kaput. It'll probably, knowing my luck, it'll probably be a little too quiet. But we shall see what happens. Shall see what happens. Ah, heck. And now I'm messing up my volume mixer. Okay, let's see. Alright, there we go. Alright, that'll probably screw up a couple other things. Yeah, I need to readjust OBS when I go back to playing Final Fantasy VII, but that's okay. So in the meantime, guess there's not much more really to say apart from just wondering how the hell he's gonna play. So the waiting continues, and then just the laughing at chat being chat. Honestly, that's probably the best part of these sometimes, is just watching chat go absolutely silly, honestly. And especially given all the especially given the hashtag free melee stuff. I don't know too much about the situation, but honestly, it's, as far as I can tell, it's Nintendo being Nintendo with respect to emulation and all that fun stuff, which is disappointing. They have gotten better with respect to people covering their games on YouTube, and I do appreciate that, but at the same time, they are still YouTube. Well, not YouTube. Oh, God. They are still Nintendo.
Peggy 12.
Yeah, shut up. Let's get into it. Please be good.
はい、皆さんこんにちは。大乱闘スマッシュブラザーズディレクター空野桜井正宏です。今回は久しぶりにスタジオからお届けすることになりました。まあ、私の部屋からの放送もそろそろ飽きてきた。
Your home was fine, Sakurai. Don't say that.
実は今までのスタジオとちょっと違うところ、より広いところを借りてやっています。皆さんソーシャルディスタンスをスタッフも保ってですね。
Oh, that's good.
感染予防対策に気を
Well, they managed to recreate the look pretty well, so that's good.
では早速参りたいと思います。まず最初に新しく追加されるミーファイターコスチュームのご紹介です。こちらをどうぞ。
Alright, starting out with the weak sauce. That's fine. Although, to be fair, some of them have been pretty good lately. Give me a sec. Oh dear. Oh hey, that's cool. Oh yeah, going all out with the Mii... Oh, that's actually a smart move, going all out with the other characters even if they aren't fighters. Not a bad idea. Oh, that looks awesome. The chest isn't nearly big enough, but I'll accept it. Oh, nice. Huh. Not what I expected from a sword fighter, but that looks not bad. Huh? Oh dear. Should have seen that coming. Now I see why they're leading with Mii fighter costumes, because they're probably... Oh hey, something that's not Final Fantasy. Oh, now you're just rubbing it in. Weren't people requesting this character? Were people not requesting this character? I feel like you're just rubbing it in at this point. No matter. Probably a good thing I don't have the chat up right now, because, oh dear. I am certain that the chat has choice words for showing Gino like that. Still, those are cool. I might actually buy a couple of those. I haven't bought any of the Mii Fighter costumes, but those might be worth it.
フェイント気味のご紹介になりましたけどね。ファイナルファンタジー7以降 FF7 と呼ばせていただきますが、FF7 ゆかりのコスチュームが増えました。
Alrighty.
ヘアリス、ティファ、バレットが入っていますが、これらに専用のヘアセット、つまり髪型はないんですね。これはミーファイターの方で、適当に
Don't give people ideas. They're gonna put Sans hats on them.
では本題の
Well, Sans heads, you get my point. To be fair, they've already done that with Creeper.
セフィロスとはクッパ大王などを除いて、ゲームでは特に有名な悪役の一
Aside
人
from
ではない
Bowser,
か
you
なと
cheeky little.
FF7 に登場した伝説のソルジャーです。とある細胞、何細胞とは言いませんが、そのために人知を超えた強さを誇ります。最終的には究極の破壊魔法メテオを用いて星の力を我が物にしようとします。特徴は長い剣の正宗。最新作 FF7 リメイクはスタイリッシュな映像が山ほど楽しめる作品で、私も続きが楽しみです。参戦ムービーも FFAC ファイナルファンタジーアドベントチルドレンに寄せてみました。いやー、何しろマインクラフトの後に FFAC ですからね。
Yeah, a bit of a shift, eh?
ダイナミックレンジの広さはやっぱり退屈しない仕事だなと思います。面白いですね。では、ここから私が操作を直接行いながらご紹介をしたいと思います。例によってゲーム内のカメラは特殊なもので、 また、開発中のものであることもご了承ください。では参りたいと思います。
Oh dear, have to put in that disclaimer? What are you showing us?
はい、これがエマブラにおけるセフィロスです。最大の特徴、やっぱり剣が長いこと
You
で
don't
すね。
say.
剣が長いのでリーチがとにかく強いです。そして比較的長身です。長身ということは相手の攻撃が当た
Oh,
り
I'll
やすい。
actually be able to land my back airs
そ
with
して
Samus?
長身の割には
Oh!
ですね、すぐにやられちゃう。カラーバリエーションには
Huh.
上半身裸版を 7P、8P に用意しました。まあ全体的にセフィロスだから暗いイメージというのは保ったまんまにしますが、7P、8P は最終決戦仕様が楽しめると思ってください。声は日本語のみの実装になります。ご了承ください。
Ah, figures.
そして、最大の特
Couldn't
徴、
get an English voice
セ
for
フィロスが
Sephiroth
ピンチになると
as he sits across from Marth,
片翼が生え
who
ます。
does have an English voice now.
片翼が生えるといろいろな効果があります。まず、スピードや攻撃力が少し増します。
Okay.
そして、空中ジャンプがもう1回できるようになります。
Oh?
つまり3段ジャンプができるようになると。
What's his recover then?
そして何より、スマッシュ攻撃にスーパー
うわー
ができるようになります。こんな風に一方的に打ち勝つことができる。とは言ってもダメージを防げるというわけではないので、使いすぎ
Super armor on everything? Are you mad?
例えばワンミスするとなくなります。相手を撃墜するとなくなることもあります。ピンチは単純に蓄積ダメージではなく、試合全体を俯瞰して判断されます。例えばストック数が優勢の時には 100% 超えてもまだ
Oh, wait, so it's meant. Oh dear, that's gonna upset people. That is gonna upset people. It's Terry all over again.
もう 30% 程度で片翼が出てしまうと。こういう違いがあります。それでは通常技の説明、基本的な技をご紹介したいと思います。でもその前にスイートスポットについてお話ししておきます。例外もありますけれども、斬撃の場合、刀身の中央少し前寄りが強いですね。例えばこういう位置の場合、斬撃をするとこのようになります。一番近いのが7、真ん中が12、先端になると9になっていますね。
Okay, so keep enemies at a distance.
斬撃は中央が一番強いのですが、月みたいなものは先端が強いことが多いです。
Oh dear.
ご覧の通り。
Huh.
まず弱攻撃。他のファイターと比べれば出るのは遅めですが、セフィロスの技の中では特に早く出る方
So
なので、
everything's gonna be deliberate
相手
then?
に近寄られた時などに使いましょう。次にダッシュ攻撃。
Doesn't
前
seem
の
that
方に
slow.
踏み込みながら攻撃する技で結構なリーチもあります。また、吹っ飛ばしも十分にありますので結構使える技かと思います。次に横強攻撃。見ての通りリーチがかなり長いです。そして上下に打ち分けすることができます。例えばダウンした相手には普通に打っても当たりませんから、そういう場合斜め下を狙って打つといいですね。
Alright, so
次に
aiming as
上
per
強攻
usual.
撃。当てにくいですがリーチが長く判定も持続するという特徴があります。
It almost seems like it would be more for zoning
目の
than
前に持ち上げ
damage.
ることもできます。また、例によって突き攻撃ですから先端が一番強いです。
Oh
次
dear.
に下強攻撃。移動するので牽制に向きます。 姿勢が低いの
Curious.
で相手の攻撃を、くぐり抜けて攻撃することもできる
Of
かも
course,
し
you
れ
use
ません。
Corrin to demonstrate that.
ただし相殺されなければの話ですが、次に横スマッシュ攻撃。威力のある全力スイングです。リーチも威力も吹っ飛ばしも十分にあります。
Of course, you used Mario for
突
that.
きはかなり大きいです。仮にかなり遠くでシールドされた場合も反撃確定になってしまうのでご注意ください。次に上スマッシュ攻撃。かなり広範囲を襲う技です。
Ah, that's what we saw in the trailer. Yeah, that
地上の前
that's
後の相手
strong.
にも当たります。
Whoa!
相応に広いですが隙はやっぱり大きいのでご注意。
Ganon, eat your heart out.
下スマッシュ攻撃。これは瓦礫で結構広範囲を攻撃することができます。威力も高めです。
It's
地面
debris
に
as
当てない
well.
と瓦礫は出ませんが、復帰阻止をすることは可能です。あと大事な機能、下スマッシュ攻撃はシールド破壊が強い。
Oh no, shield breakers.
次に通常空中攻撃。この手の技としては範囲
Well,
が
at least it's
全体的に
not.
広めですね。
Well, at least it's not
スピード
Palutena
大きいセ
neutral
フィロ
air.
スの技としては早く出る方だと思います。なので牽制に向いてますね。
Alright,
次に
cool.
前空中攻撃。かなり長いリーチを誇る視力技です。
Okay, yeah, that is the by left stab.
リーチの長さを生かしてこのように復帰阻止にも使えます。
Oh, that's the recover. Cool.
だけど当たりがすごく細いので、見ての通り小ジャンプ攻撃なんかが当たらないんですね。
Okay, so that's how they're trying to
な
balance
の
it.
でそういう場合、横強攻撃なんかと併用すると相手はとても困ることになると思います。そしてもう一つ特徴がありまして、なんと前空中攻撃、壁に突き刺してジャンプすることができたりする
Yeah,
んですね。
that's gonna be
これ
awesome.
をいかにして使うかというと、こうフェイントに使うなど。
Ah, that's gonna make the maps interesting. I wonder how that's gonna affect the tourney scene.
前空中攻撃よりは範囲が広い攻撃ですね。威力も高いです。
Looks slower
で
though.
前空中の代わりに振り向いて後ろ空中を使うとかはありですね。前空中攻撃も後ろ空中攻撃も地上ギリギリで出して当てることが大事なんですね。そうじゃないと地上の敵に当たらないので、小ジャンプで当たらない相手も、地上ギリギリなら当てることができますので。ただ前空中攻撃の方が後ろ空中攻撃よりも早く出るからそれを勘案しないといけないですね。具体的には前空中攻撃が、攻撃発生13フレーム、後ろ空中
Wait, you're actually giving frame data?
このですけど、いや
I was about to say, what are you doing?
このゲーム愉快なパーティーゲームを考えて想定して作っているものなので、そんな細かいことを言うのはまあ大会に出る人ぐらいでいいんじゃないかなと。というわけで前空中攻撃
What the hell is going on?
後ろ空中攻撃も当てると楽しい、そんな感じでいかがでしょうか。次、上空中攻撃、広範囲の投げ払いです。先ほどの上スマッシュ攻撃と似てますね。まあ実際代わりに使うことだってできます。
Oh,
前方の攻撃範囲などはあんまり広くありませんが、いろんな撃に使えるので試してみると良いかと思います。
Okay.
次に下空中攻撃、これは極門と言われている急降下攻撃です。
alright, so.
例によって床上からの攻撃にも使えます。
Oh, that's really
攻撃
useful.
範囲はかなり広くしゃがんでいてもこの通り。
Oh, that's really
その格子の
useful.
長さからものすごく床を突き抜けますので、崖外からの復帰阻止も可能かと思います。
Oh
表面
man,
もありますが、
little Mac is crying
崖外
somewhere.
は使い物にならないですね。自分も自滅しちゃいますから。もしもメテオを使いたいなら足場は最低限キープして使って。
It can meteor? Oh, jeez. That's gonna be awesome.
つかみや投げですが、剣を持ってるファイターというのは投げの威力は全体的に弱めです。これ前投げ。
Not a bad range actually for a
後
sword
ろ投
fighter.
げ。テレポートして投げてます、ね。
Oh, that's cool.
上投げ、すぐにコンボにつなげます。
Oh, not bad.
そして下投げと。
Not bad at
ま
all.
あ、投げの威力は低いといえど、何らかのコンビネーションに使ったりとか、シールドを崩しにかかったりとか、そういうのに使えると思いますの
Okay,
で、
that's cool.
いろいろ検討してみてください。
That's
それで
useful.
は、必殺技のご紹介です。
Yes.
通常必殺技は、
And of course, you bring one winged angel
飛
out.
び道具を使いこなします。
Wait, what? One of
ほぼため
three?
ずに打つとフレア。距離が比較的長めで最後に爆発を行います。
Okay, explosive
ち
flame,
ょっ
but
とだけ
useful.
貯めるとメガフレア。
Cool.
それよりは距離が短いですが威力が抜群の攻撃を行います。そして最後まで食べるとギガフレア。大爆発を起こして相手を強く吹っ飛ばします。
That looks like it's gonna be a zoning move.
フレアでさえ発射にはかなりの時間がかかりますが威力は絶大です。
Interesting that just the basic fireball could
止めることはできます
block it.
がための保持はできません。
Alright, no storing the charge. Good to know.
ギガフレアは空中では使えないことになると思います。ため時間が長すぎるんですね。
Presumably the others
ギ
can
ガフ
then?
レアにはこんな使い方もあります。
Whoa.
スマッシュをこう混ぜてみたんですね。
That's actually insane if people let you do that.
掴んじゃ こん
Huh.
な目の前で炸裂するなんて使い道があるのかなんていうことも考えられますが、実はちょっとあるんですね。
Sort of.
後で説明します。
Wait, explain this later. Huh?
一応吸収もできるんですが、大した回復量にならないです。なぜなら爆発
I
し
don't
た時
look. If
が
you were Ness, you probably don't care.
反射もできます。反射はギガフレアは絶対に反射されないことをお勧めします。もう蓄積ダメージゼロでも即死ということになりかねないですから。
Yeah, if Sephiroth really is light.
道具があるのは相当な強みだと思いますので、うまく使いこなしてもらえればなぁと思います。
Yep, that's a zoner.
次に横必殺技、シャドウフレアです。なんか地味な飛び道具ですよね。
That's not the special part, is
細い
it?
球を打つだけなんですね。貯めることはできるけれども、見た目そんな大きな変化があったようには見えないですね。でも、この球、全く異なる概念を持つ飛び道具です。この細い球を相手に当てると、
I had a feeling it would be this.
周囲を回転する球になるんですね。そしてしばらくすると誘導して爆発をします。
Okay. So it's more like Mega Man's bomb.
重ねがけによって相手の周囲を回
Oh
る球
dear.
の数が増えます。最大5つまで。
Huh.
なお、シールドをすることは可能です。
Okay.
シールドされることを見越して、掴むことも可能です。な
Oh, wow, that is
向きを変える
abusive.
こともできます。こういう使い方もできるかもしれないです。
Jeez. There's no way you can dodge all of
大
those.
乱闘の場合、誰かが巻かれると第三者に対してなす
Oh,
りつけられるんですね。
jeez.
まあどっちに転んでも
Huh, actually.
有利ですから、使うに越したこと
I
は
could see
ない。
that being really interesting in team battles,
なお
actually.
吸収することは
At least if friendly fire is enabled.
反射することも可能です。まあ実用的に攻撃に使うのはちょっと難しいかもしれませんが、ちなみに拾うことも可能
わ
です。拾うとどうなるか、こうなるんです。
Oh, okay. Interesting.
人の周りについてるものを拾っちゃうこともできちゃう。
Huh, neat.
親切ですね。上必殺技一戦です。これ、すぐに出せる直線攻撃艇の技で、ファイアフォックスなどに似ていて、好きな方向に打つことができるというものですね。
Okay, cool.
相手に対して距離を取るためにも使えますし、こうフェイントをかけるのにも使えます。ところで今までが一戦だったのですが、ボタンを押し続けると8頭
Oh, that must have been. Oh, that was what was in the trailer. Okay.
こういう
I thought that was a
突進
smash
系の技には
attack.
珍しく十分な撃墜性能があります。地上で出せば崖際では止まってくれます。だけどちょっと浮くともうどうにもならないので要注意です。
Depends on if you have your recover.
少しだけ差があります。これ1戦、これ8頭1戦。8頭1戦の方がちょっとだけ長いですから、どうしても復帰したいという時には8頭1戦を使うのがいいですね。
Neat.
もちろん本来は復帰に使うためのものです。
You can direct it like that? Oh
一戦は
man, that's
すぐに
cool.
崖に捕まることができますが、8頭1戦は少しだけ上の方に飛び出してしまいます。
Oh
それを使っ
man.
て攻撃をするという手もありますが、この違いに
The
は
Sephiroth mains are gonna be insufferable.
次に下必殺技先行といい
Oh
ます。
no, a counter.
ハニカムシールドから
Oh, axe.
先行一連で放つ技でカウンターのように使います。
Acts like a counter.
カウンターと異なり、当たっても当たらなくても先行になるのがポイントです。受けた攻撃の強さによって先行がパワーアッ
Alright,
プし
so
ます。
not technically a
手触れの通
counter.
り後ろからの攻撃には無効です。
Okay, that's
なお
important.
残念なことに飛び道具は反射できません。防ぐことはできるんですけどね。
Okay.
さらにカウンター系としては珍しく強い攻撃
おー
がられてしまうんですね。最大チャージショットなんかもまあ厳しい部類です。ただしダメージは防げます。復帰阻止に使うこともできます。特に攻撃力のある上必殺技を持っているような人は気をつけた方がいいです。
Now I'm intrigued. Okay, it's not a straight up counter, thank God.
スーパーノバ。
Oh no, Supernova? Are you
メテオで調子
are you out of your mind?
星ごと破裂させるというダイナミックな技です。
Oh, okay, good.
それぞれの
I don't know, it didn't
違うリアクション
I don't know, it didn't last for a whole 2 minutes. I don't think that's really Supernova.
気づきにならないと思うので寸前で止めてみようと思いますが、右から1人は吹っ飛び、1人はキノコ、そして1人は、シールドブレイクを起こしているように見えますよね。原作でもそうだったのですが、ランダムである程度の効果が現れるようになっています。吹っ飛び、フラフラ、
Unless you prepare ahead of time, of course.
花、キノコなどですね。
So it's random?
フラフラになりましたね。こうなったらさっきのギガフレアからの横スマッシュなどで蓄積
Oh, man.
0% からの
Good thing my friend doesn't use final smashes very often.
お花は
To
ダ
be
メージ
fair, I don't use them very often either.
普通に食らうよりもさらにでかくなってしまう。もうこんなにいっちゃいましたね。これはキノコ。キノコは怖いです。
Oh, that is
に
evil!
かかると復帰しようとして反対側に行ってしまいますから、これもまた蓄積ダメージ 0% から
That is
やられる
evil!
可能性のある技ですね。
Okay, final smashes are gonna be banned whenever Sephiroth is in game now.
スーパーノバお楽しみいただければと思います。
Oh man, that is
そこで
evil!
クラウドの偶数カラーの切り札にも手を入れました。それも超級武神火山バージョン5。
Yes, this was shown in the trailer too.
ファイナルファンタジー7アドベントチルドレンに登場し、合体剣を分離させる技ですね。攻撃力など性能は奇数カラーと全く変わらないものになっています。
Okay, it just
なお
looks
ご
cooler.
存知かと思いますが、クラウドの偶数カラーには袖ありと袖なしがあります。まあこれも原作ファンにはおなじみのものですね。
Alright, fair enough. Alright, so now here's...
次にステージのご
Here
紹
we
介で
go.
す。北の大空洞というステージを作りました。ステージの形状自体はシンプルにしましたが、背景がストーリーを追うようになってるんですね。これなんと FF7 の終盤
Don't tell them that!
しまいます。しょうがないけど。なのでこれネタバレを見たくないという方は回れ右をした方がいいかも。
You
いやしなくてもい
you
いと
took
思う
what was said during the Byleth
何しろ
gameplay discussion to heart, didn't you?
まあそれに新しいリメイクでこのようになる。
Yeah, you said some very interesting things about Fire Emblem Three Houses. Don't you talk about what you can and can't spoil.
北の大空洞ファイナルファンタジー7で最終決戦が繰り広げられたところです。約
Okay,
束
this
の
looks
地、
cool.
そしてリユニオンの終着点ですね。
Don't say things like
北
that!
の大空洞を俯瞰し、そして遠くにはジェットエンジン化したハイウィンド第2形態も飛んでいます。セフィロスが星を滅ぼす黒魔法メテオを発動しました。それを阻止するためにセフィロスを倒し、エアリスが決してかけた白魔法ホーリーを解放するというのがパーティーの目的です。
Oh, so you're keeping that under wraps.
星の体内にどんどん降りていきます。原作にもこのように段差のようなところ
Oh
がありましたね。
wow, nice recreation of the level too.
北の大空洞は2000年前にジェノバが落下したところと言われています。そしてその後古代種に封印され、神羅に発掘された箇所で
But
す。
you're not going to say what Genova is.
この辺りはリシディア・ファイナルファンタジーのステージに採用されたこともありますね。ジェノバ、シンセシスと戦った場所を彷彿とさせます。
I need to check out the city on one of these days.
床もこの辺の床を参照しています。そしてこれが封印されたホーリーです。ホーリーが発動し、そして、パーティーは脱出を図ります。逃げろーと。そして眼前に広がるメテオ。そしてホーリーが飛び出し、メテオの阻止に回ります。
Okay, this does look
ハイウィン
awesome,
ドは
to be
ここ
fair.
で密かに第三形態になっていたりします。
Yeah,
しかし
good move.
ホーリーが発動するのが遅すぎたと言われてますが、メテオを止められません。そこで星の力であるライフストリームが湧いてきて加算するという、こういうお話を追うクルーズステージというのは今までになかったかもしれません。お楽しみいただければと思います。
So how's the stage work? Hmm?
それでは実戦に移りたいと思います。
Now here's the good
今回
part.
は勝ち上がりラントをやってみたいと思います。
Showing us the classic mode?
本気度は一番高くして始めます。なぜかというと、
Oh wait, is this gonna also have story
ボスラッ
beats?
シュが楽しめるんですね。
Oh,
歴
that's...
代ボスがいっぱい出てきます。
Wait, it's gonna be a boss rush?
もともとボスキャラらしいセフィロ
はあ。
スだからこそ、そういうボスラッシュというのは合うんじゃないかなと思って入れてみました。
Okay, that's a really cool
怖い
idea.
ので気をつけなきゃいけないですね。最初はリオレウス。しかしつくづくなんてゲームだ。
Oh please, this is not weapon.
まあレウスですからね、すぐに飛んだりとか逃げたりするのが
All seem to be doing fine so
合ってる
far.
んじゃないかな。尻尾くれ。尻尾をくれ。
Really?
でもその前に面白いもの記録かな。投げちゃった。お、落とし穴。
I mean, you've almost got him down. You don't have to try very hard at this point. Especially when you're only at 15%.
尻尾やりましたね。これも食らって。セフィロスの最後のとどめが足るって。
Clearly. And then you walk him off
はい、
screen, of
次ガレ
course.
オムです。スマブラ X を放送させますね。音楽も懐かしい感じ。まあまあ、そんなに怒るのはやめようよと。
Wait, you brought back the brawl music for that?
ちょっと食らっちゃった今。あ、
Huh.
見られてますね。
Brawl music with Sephiroth.
まあ
Okay.
まあそんなに怒らない。怒らない。真っ赤じゃないですかもう。
It's been a while since I...
はい。
When was the last time I played Brawl? Good lord. That's been a long time.
危ない危ない。
Not that most people care for it, but even so. And of course you're having Sephiroth continuously walk away.
怪奇物っぽい怖いと言われてるマルクですが、このキャラ本当はもっと怖かったんです。
Wait, how do you make that thing even
年齢推奨
creepier?
制限に引っかかっちゃいましてね。
Oh yeah, Smash is for good boys and girls, right?
怖い
Huh?
にしてみたんですけど
That's why Bayonetta's in the
も
game?
うちょっと怖くしたかった。お、魔界植物かな。お、割れた。
Eh,
自分が割ったんじゃないです。お客さん目が変になってますよ。
really?
おっと。
Actually, I'm curious to know what the final battle's gonna look like.
おっとっとっとっとっとっと危ない。ああいう血管表現とかが特に怖いって言われてるところですよね。
There you go.
今のもちょっとキモい。
Okay, is there anything in here that isn't gross?
あ、惜しいな。パーフェクト取れてないな。次、ドラキュラ伯爵です。一番最初の伯爵状態だと。なんだ伯爵状態って。頭にしか判定がないから、そこは気をつけなきゃいけないですが、見ての通り、上スマッシュとかで当たりがあるから、それはジャンプするよりも楽かもしれないですね。ここは素直にシールド。無理するのはやめよう。おーっと無理した方が良かったかな。
At least you want spamming Omni Slash.
さて、ここからが本番です。先生。
Oh, good timing.
そう、スマッシュ横とかをうかつにやると、全然隙がでかくて反撃食らっちゃうんですよね。気をつけなきゃね。怨念弾みたいな。いかんね。またやっちゃったね。
Eh, he's almost down. You're fine.
なんとか片翼は出ないで済みましたね。いや、出してもいいんだけど、むしろ出した方が。次、魔王ガノンは戦い方をよく考えないといけないですね。何しろ光ってる尾っぽにしか判定がない。いや、判定はあるんだけど、他がみんな全身無敵になってると。まあ、無理せず行きましょう。
Huh.
チャンス。貯めちゃおうかな。痛いだろう。
You think?
僕ももっと危ない。よしよし。
Alright, you've got this.
これでどう？あ、
Really? Okay.
よしよし。
Now you're just having fun. Huh, it doesn't let you walk off the stage.
次ギガクッパです。スマブラデラックスみたいな。やっぱり攻撃が思ったよりも広いので何とかしなきゃいけないですね。ハットを一戦で抜けてみたりして。まずい、ここまずい。危ない。
Oh, nice.
ああいうことをしていちゃいけないんです、本当は。何しろこれ、つかみがありますからね、この人。危ない。結構、間合いが広いよ。
Yeah, don't go anywhere near
届
that.
かないしね。
Nice.
まずいね。結構当たってないように見えますけど、もうあっという間に真っ赤でやられるなんてことありますからね。お、これも良くない。ちょっと届いちゃう。
There you go.
獄門。
Really?
本気度 9.9 いっちゃいました。はい、マスターハンドとクレイジーハンドです。
Putting it on this
それが
stage.
北の大空洞でなぜか戦うという。これは最初からまずいね。ピヨッタ。まずい。
Oh,
ろく
nice.
にダメージを与えていないのにすでに蓄積ダメージが
Yeah.
高くない。
No?
うわー、このアングルを小さくされるのとても危険。ここで
Well, I stunned one.
できれば。お、いいぞ。了解。
Oh, jeez.
ついに片翼が出てしまった。まずい。これはまずい。
Oh, crap. That ain't good for you.
まだ諦めちゃいけない。はっ。
Nice.
ほっ。来い来い。
Didn't quite time that out, but it technically worked.
お、これはいけるんじゃ。
Alright, one
あ
down.
とはクレイジーだけ。でも一撃食らえばやられそう。今掴もうとしたね、君。一人で10体ぐらい倒せばいけるかな。
Oh, nice. That was
は
close.
い、終わりました。お疲れ様でした。さらばだ。獄門。本気度 9.9 のまんまでしたが。はい、お疲れ様でした。ボスラッシュモード。
Wonder how many attempts were made
幸いです。
to get that working. Alright. Which two songs got put in?
曲のご紹介です。楽曲のリストはこちらです。新たな曲
Oh,
が
more than
追
two.
加され、FF 曲がなんと11曲になりました。うち4曲がアレンジで、いずれも聞き応えがあるアレンジになっています。これらミッドガルステージにも追加されます。
Oh, that's good.
今まで FF 曲というのは2曲だけだったんですね。それをしてスクエニさんはケチだというような話をする人もいるかと思うんですが、それは違うんですよと大きな声で言わせていただきます。
Yeah, it's called Square Enix.
やっぱりですね、例えばキャラクターが何かのゲームに出る、コラボするという時にも曲なんて1曲もないっていうものの方が多いじゃないですか。世界で全て問題ないように、許諾を取らないといけないんですね。まあ中には一社でちゃんと取れるものもありますが、
Yeah, yeah.
会社にまたがっていたりとか、国によって全然違ったりっていうことを、権利をみんな解決して実装しているんです。だからつまりスマブラがちょっとおかしいということで、認めていただければと思います。さて、肝心の配信日です。
The important
12
part.
月23日に配信予定です。これはクリスマスイブイブですね。ファイターパスボル2があれば、
Alrighty
そのまま
then.
受け取り可能、単体でも購入可能です。ところで、毎回スマブラに新キャラを加えるというのは本当大事なんですよね。だけど、 ファイターが多いだけにファイター選択画面では多数の中の一つで埋もれてしまうんです。これで良いのだろうかと思ったりして。
How are you changing things up?
ボスだからボスとしての強さにスポットを当てたいと思いました。そこでこれを見てほしいんです。
What, is every boss gonna get that, or is Sephiroth the exception? Huh? What's that? What's
なん
this?
とボスとしてのセフィロスと戦える期間限定出現の特別なモードを用意しました。これを倒すことができれば先行してセフィロスと北の大統領ステージを使うことができます。イージーノーマルはそこそこにするけれど、ベリーハードはかなり難しくする予定です。
Hang on, is this in the game now?
最初に選んだ難易度をクリアできなければ正式な発売日までセフィロスを先行して使えるようにはしないつもりでした。ベリーハードを選んだ人にはそれなりの試練が訪れるようだけどハードすぎるかなと思い、さすがにそれは取りやめました。セフィロスチャレンジの配信日は12月18日から12月23日。
I don't know what that time is in American. Unfortunately, there wasn't a US I could find easily.
これもご注意ください。さまざまなアップデートは本配信の23日に行われます。2P クラウドに超級武神ハザバージョン5が追加されたけど、これも23日からです。できれば楽しいと思い、セフィロスチャレンジを考えたけれど、実装には思った以上の手間をかけてしまい、スタッフには申し訳なかったです。ですが、この5日しか出ていないモード、できればいろんなファイターやいろんな攻略でベリーハードクリアを目指していただければと思います。確かな手応えがあります。ボスとしてのセフィロスの強さ、楽しんでいただければ幸いです。
Alrighty then. Doesn't look like it's in yet.
戦場、小戦場、大戦場、終点において全局抽選と折れ局セレクトから抽選方法が選べるようになりました。全局抽選とステージセレクトからの選曲はすべてのステージ曲が対象になります。折れ局セレクトでメニューを切り替えると、戦場なら戦場の折れ局セレクトの中から抽選されます。あと、ゲーム内でご紹介することができなかったので、セフィロスの勝利画面なんかもお出ししたいと思います。こちらです。
Okay. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, that's really cool. That's something that's going to be worth
以上でセフィロスのプレゼンを終わりたいと思うのですが、今回本当に収録に苦労しました。何せ機材トラブルがありましてね、どうも音響とかにノイズが混じるんですって。
That's what the music's there to mask over, right?
うちで自宅配信の時にこのノイズが混じっていたら、もう配信できなかったんじゃないかなと思います。確認できるっていうのは大事ですね。そういう意味でスタッフさん本当にお疲れ様です。というわけでお開きです。どうもありがとうございました。
Alrighty, so. Alright, that looks like it is it. So. When is it available? December 17th. Actually, it'd probably be easier to look up. Because I'm almost certain. Nah, it's probably a little too early for people to jump on, but still, well, actually, real quick. Let's see. Is there anything in some software update? Let's see if there's anything. Alright, using latest versions. So, it looks like that special challenge isn't in yet. At least just looking over at my Switch right now. But, still, I guess I'll have to check that out on my own. Maybe, I probably won't live stream it. I may record it on my... You know what? If it's working tomorrow and if I can get enough done on the Icewind Dale 2 video, I might record it over on my second channel, but yeah, that'd probably be the end of it. So, either way, that's all from me. I may choose to break this up later, depending on the circumstances, but for now, as This is a stream that covered more than just the Sephiroth thing, but for now, thank you all for watching. I guess I'll call it there. See you all later.